Let's start by looking at the smaller laptops with the M14x, the Alienware 13, and the Alienware M15. Right away from the front, we can see the design difference between the three laptops. In my opinion, the M14 has the nicest design with the classic Alienware grill look, whereas the later generations have a flat, really nothing there type of look. When it comes to I/O, the M14X completely destroys your two laptops. Over the years, you can see that the ports have actually gone down. I'm not sure why Alienware decided to do this because there's plenty of room on the laptops for more ports. The 14 has a VGA, HDMI, mini display port, USB, 3 audio jacks, an SD card reader, and even a SIM slot. The 13 only has a single USB and dual audio jacks on the side, whereas the M15 has only one USB and one audio jack along with the Ethernet. Looking at the other side, the M14 has an optical drive, 2 USBs, and an Ethernet, whereas the 13 has a USB and a USB Type-C port, and the other laptop, the M15, has 2 USB ports. On this side, they're fairly equal. Alienware decided to make only the power jack in the back of the M14 and only has a single exhaust, whereas the 13 has the graphics amplifier, Thunderbolt 3, HDMI, mini display port, and Ethernet. The M15 has an HDMI, mini display port, Thunderbolt, graphics amplifier, and power, along with dual exhaust just like the 13. With the laptops open, you can see Alienware's classic design with a nice glass LCD display, nice long travel keyboard, a regular sized touchpad with the light around it. Alienware improved this design a bit, in my opinion, with the keyboard on the newer model, the 2013. The keyboard on this is really nice, and I think it's way better than the older model. The touchpad is also much nicer as well, and it still retains the full buttons here. The edge-to-edge glass is retained only on the OLED model, as can be seen here. Now with the M15, things change quite a bit. The keyboard is no longer anywhere near either of the other keyboards at all. This keyboard is much worse, but keep in mind that it's still an okay keyboard. The touchpad, in my opinion, is much worse as well. And if I were to rate the touchpads, I would say this is the first, this is the second, and this is the last. In terms of the display, it has these really annoying, if you will, glass-looking bezels, but they're plastic, whereas the older two models have a glass back. In terms of Alien FX, you have the keyboard with 4 zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, the touchpad lighting, the grills, the Alienware logo, and on the second computer we have the touchpad, the zone lighting, the alien head, Alienware logo, and even the Alienware here. On this laptop we have a zone lighting keyboard and this alien head, along with this alien head. Taking a look at sound quality. In my opinion, I want to say that this has probably the best sound quality in terms of bass and treble, whereas this one would be second best, and overall not too bad. This one is a little different. It's not as sharp, but the soundstage is not too bad. In my opinion, this is the most balanced. This would be best in treble and bass, and this is a bit more muffled in terms of the sound quality. Looking at each display carefully, the Alienware 13 absolutely annihilates the other two laptops. There is just no competition here. Now, it's probably going to be hard to see in this video due to exposure and people's monitors, but in real life, the 13's OLED display is really nice. However, the 15 is also coming out with an OLED display, and this should be shipping now, so that might be probably on par as the 13, maybe even better. Now we move on to the monsters. These are Alienware's flagships from 2012 and 2019. Let's see how much of a difference they've done over the last 7 years. Right away, on the front of the laptop, you can see Alienware's classic grill alien design. Whereas on the new laptop, well, there really isn't much here. It's just black plastic. The overall size of the laptop hasn't changed too much, with the newer laptop not being as wide side to side. But front to back, it's a little bit bigger than last time's model. So in the last 7 years, we've definitely got a thinner laptop for sure. The M18 is over 2 inches thick, whereas the new laptop is less than 2 inches thick. In terms of I/O, the M18x just annihilates the new Area 51. We have Ethernet, VGA, HDMI out, mini DisplayPort, dual USBs, and 4 audio outputs. Whereas on the Area 51, we're looking at just a Thunderbolt 3, USB, and 2 audio jacks. This is on the left side of the laptop. Turning the laptops over, we have an optical drive, express card, SD card reader, dual USB, a USB combo eSATA port, and HDMI out. Alienware, why did you guys get rid of the HDMI out? The new laptop has only 2 USBs on this side and nothing else, not even the SD card reader. We have to let the new laptop win somewhere. On the back, we have just 1 power port on the M18, but there are 3 exhaust vents and 1 air vent. On the Area 51, we have the exhaust, HDMI, main DisplayPort, Ethernet, graphics amplifier, and 2 power outputs. Now, to be fair, these 2 power outputs aren't too special, because this laptop, in the enthusiast forums, we've actually made a converter that allows this laptop to also use 2 330 watt power adapters. So technically, this isn't something new. It's just Alienware has implemented it directly, whereas this was an unofficial thing, but it did support all the power. Looking at the laptops overall, we have a very nice keyboard here with very long stroke. The touchpad is an okay size and has 2 dedicated buttons. There is a nice media bar here that Alienware has been doing for a while on their older models, which I really liked. And it has an edge-to-edge glass display. Not to mention the macro keys here, which are also present on this laptop here. The keyboard on this is even better. This is a really nice keyboard. Touchpad is also nicer than the older model with 2 dedicated buttons. We no longer have the media bar key, which is unfortunate, but we did keep the number pad. And there's more macros here than before. There's 4 more here, whereas on this model, we don't have that. The display is not bad. There's these plastic bezels, which some people like, some people hate. And then the display is no longer glass, but the bezels are thin all around. Whereas on this laptop, the bezels are actually really thin for a 2012 laptop here. But at the top and at the bottom, they're a bit bigger. One thing to notice is the display on the M18X is actually really good for its age. It's really sharp and glossy. The matte display on here is actually not bad either. In my opinion, I think the AUO panel on the Area 51 is better than the Samsung panel on the M18X. However, the display is much bigger. Now, it doesn't look like it's that much bigger, but when you actually use these displays in front of you, that 18.4-inch display just really pops, whereas this one feels kind of small, and I think it's because of the really thin bezels. It's time to test the audio. The audio is where Alienware completely dropped the ball on the new model. Let's see how bad it is. Now let's take a look at the bass. The M18X has a really good low end that you can really hear in person, whereas the Air 51 feels like it's lacking that lower end. However, the overall loudness and sound quality of the Air 51 is a bit more balanced, whereas the M18 is not as loud, but it does have the overall balance between treble, bass, and mids. Now, there's no point talking in performance because the Area 51M absolutely annihilates the M18X. And even with the M18X's 4 years of constant upgrades that we've been doing in the community, it just isn't as fast. And that's what's going to happen with 7 years of technology. The same can be said about the smaller laptops, whereas the newest one will be the fastest, then this one, then this one. The CPU is upgradable on here, and people have put the 3920XM Extreme, whereas these are both soldered. Nothing can be replaced on these. However, the RAM and SSDs can be replaced on all 3 laptops. And that's about it. Overall, I hope this has been a nice video comparing the Alienware laptops. In my opinion, the high end has really gotten up there, but in terms of the mid-range, I feel like the 13 was the perfect balance between everything, and their newer models just aren't cutting it. This is the thickness they reduced in order to sacrifice that keyboard and touchpad, and honestly, I don't think it was worth it. I think this was the greatest keyboard and touchpad on the smaller laptops, and these newer ones just aren't as worth it as the higher end models.